Hi, Yvonne.
Hello. Hi, Evie. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. How are things? We are, I believe, live. It's just a little bit of a different setup for me because I'm only on one screen, not two. So hopefully we are here. We are live, and we are one more Thursday talking about interesting things, I think.
Yeah, we are well, we're myth busting, and it's the self-criticism default. That's what we're focusing on. So for those who have not joined us before, you're joining us perhaps for the first time, you just happen to find this video by chance, this live, welcome. Basically, this is where we have the opportunity to look at the different stories, narratives, patterns that show up sometimes in our language, sometimes in our output, what we actually do, and how we can become more aware of them so that we can, and I use the word challenge really lightly here, challenge them in a way that says, is this helping me? Or is it actually getting in my way? Is it stopping me? Is it holding me back? Because quite often these narratives are protecting us. And what we need to be able to decipher is whether we need protecting in that moment or not. Is this actually for the good of me? Or is this just happening because this is what I've always said, this is what I've always done, and I'm just on repeat? But actually, there's no value. In fact, if anything, it might be shrinking me. So, with that said, and we know what we're focusing on, which is the self-criticism default, let's get started. We always look at two phrases, and the first one this week is, I should have known better.
Oh, yes.
Now, there's a phrase. There's a little phrase. And I'm going to hand over to you, Evie, because I'm going to say, has this showed up for you? And if so, when or where?
Well, I think it is a phrase that's so like known, so embedded in our systems. At least it has been in mine. That even though, I often want to say that no, I don't regret anything. I would have done everything the same way, and blah 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 blah. This is something that knocks on the door quite often, and especially as we grow older, as we are getting experience under our belts, this shows up really more often because we somehow consider that having experience means that you are becoming almost infallible, that you have all the answers, that you should do this and should do that, and all the shoulds that come our way. And we have talked about the shoulding yourself in so many ways, and this is one of those. Well, I can't say that I'm over it. I can't say that I never listen or hear this in my head ever again for the last few years that I've been doing this work. But definitely, I hear it and I ask the question: is this true? And this is one of those phrases that I hear it and I just cut myself and I just ask, is this true? Because sometimes that inner voice might say, yes, it is true, and you should have known better because you've done this like 10 times already, and well, why do you expect a different outcome if you keep doing the same thing? Or you should have been a little bit more clever with this, or all sorts of things. And sometimes it comes, for me at least, when it has to do with other people or situations. So the criticism becomes like also spread out, not only self-criticism, but like towards others, towards situations. I think this is a slippery slope. When you start criticizing yourself, then everybody else gets a little bit of it. And it has to do with trust. It has to do
Yeah.
with other things there. And of course, the first thing is trust to yourself and then others. So yeah, it shows up. I don't believe it all the time, but it does show up.
Yeah, definitely. I was trying to think of one area of my life where it probably hadn't shown up, and I don't think I could think of one. It's like in work, in relationships, in social settings, oh, you should have known better. I've used this phrase more times than I could count, and I certainly see it less often now, but that doesn't mean to say that I don't ever see it. The difference is when I see it now, it is a different approach. Like you say, is that really true? For me, I just say to myself, what are you trying to protect? What are you trying to protect in this phrasing? What is it protecting? And quite often when I look at it through that question, it's like there's nothing here to protect. It's okay. This is literally the pattern showing up. And the minute I recognize that that's what it is, okay, let it go. Because I think it's important with any of this, and I know we say this probably week in and week out, is that we don't identify these things to then use them as a baton to beat ourselves up with. That is not the purpose. It is simply for us to be aware of where they are showing up and also how they're impacting us. And then being able to make a decision about when is this relevant and when is it not? When is this protecting me and when is it not? When is this true? As you said, when is it not? And just be a bit more curious about it and just saying, okay, what was it that was said or what happened that brought that to the surface? What was it? And again, not to overanalyze, but to raise awareness, because it's through our awareness that we can then make different choices and just be able to say, I see where this keeps coming up. And actually, what would be more helpful is this or that, and then to just start, and I don't want to use the word arming ourselves, but really start giving ourselves better phraseology, better terminology that is much more helpful and that is much more true.
That is so true. that we don't take the time, and that is, I think, what affects most of us. We are always in that state that everything is happening, and if we don't take the pause that we're always talking about as well, it is more likely that we're not going to be aware of what is going on, and you are in the pattern and you are reacting, and that causes all the issues with the reality that you live, right? So it makes such a big difference if you stop the judgment wherever you find it at the end of the day. And yes, like today we're talking about self-judging, but because judging in general is I want to say it's almost like a holistic thing. Like when you are in that mode of judging comes a whole cycle around, and it does affect the way you show up in the world.
Yes.
Even if you are just thinking that, I don't judge myself, I judge the other person. Well, why? Why is this happening? We don't ask this type of questions. I judge myself. Why? Why do you judge yourself? What is it that you could have done better? If you could have done something better, why don't you stop judging yourself and do that thing? Because in a way, this type of narrative in our own heads it take too much space in our heads and stops us from being able to like act in a different way, to listen to something different, to see something different, to also see the possibility, because when you're entangled in those narratives that go round and round and round in your head, and the thing is, and I think I have said that before, and it was such an eye-opener when I realized that the thoughts that really sit in our heads are not that many. I mean, we think thousands of thoughts every day or every moment, I don't know, but there are specific thoughts that they are sitting there and they're occupying the space in our head, that they're not that many. And when we fixate on those things, or when we don't see the patterns, we can stay there and stagnate for a very long time. And I think self-criticism and criticism in general is one of those really, I wouldn't say heavy thoughts, the ones that are sitting there the most. If you're not aware, if you don't ask the right questions, and if you don't decide that, oh, okay, let me just see what are there other options are there. How can I be more compassionate to that person, to that situation, to me?
Yes, absolutely. And I think also that habit of being critical, self-critical, critical of others, is all about benchmarking. Because what are you being critical? You're criticizing against what marker? And who set that marker? Societal, cultural, in a business environment. And actually, we need to be able to notice those too, and be able to say, well, hold on a moment, that's something external of me. Why am I measuring myself against that? I don't even know if I believe that or agree with it. So why am I now measuring myself with that? So even being able to identify what is the source of this benchmarking that I'm using to criticize, because I don't like my hair. My hair looks too short. My hair looks too long. My hair looks. These are self-criticisms, and we may say, oh, but that's nothing too big. No, but it is when it starts to become one thing after another, because you start there, and then what's the next criticism, and then the next one, and again, it's all against benchmarked against what? What? And that for me is, whenever I do find myself in that self-criticism, if it is I should have known better, I would ask myself sometimes, why do I feel I should know better? And if it's, well, because kind of you've been down this road several times, Yvonne, so that's perhaps why. Okay, I get it. So what now do I want to do differently so that I stop coming down this road so often? I'm not even going to say always, but so often. What is that? And really focus on that and put my attention on that, but be compassionate with myself at the same time. Because again, the minute we start beating ourselves up, that's just another layer. So on top of criticizing yourself, now you're beating yourself up. Where is the good going to come from that? And I think you said earlier that it's not only that, you then start spilling it out, because if you're judging yourself in those ways and criticizing yourself in those ways, I would put money on it that somewhere along the line you're probably doing it to other people. That is also happening. You're also now measuring them against this benchmark that we don't even know where it came from. And I think that's where we also need to be mindful, because now it's not only about ourselves, it's about the people around us. And that can be really damaging for relationships, be that in the work environment or in our social lives or our family lives.
And this is so true. That benchmark, I quite like the thinking behind it, because it makes it a little bit more tangible as to why we tend to criticize, and like why we tend to criticize ourselves and others and situations. So the idea though is, okay, let's with curiosity find out what is happening with this benchmark. Is this something that really is valuable to me, or not? As you said, do we really believe it? I mean, who put that thing there? Why do we all have to follow that particular thing? Is there any other type of benchmark, but maybe, it's like more fun to do,
Yeah.
or whatever? At the end of the day, when we approach our lives lightly and with curiosity, no matter what happens, I think we have the opportunity to really find something new, get something that is more um, connected to our core, to our essence, rather than looking for things around. And of course, the thing is that we are never satisfied because we are not looking inwards, we're looking outwards. And when you're looking outwards, undoubtedly, you are going to feel that pressure of like, okay, I'm not like this, I'm like that. Why am I like that? What is going on here? Why the other person is, I don't know, like this and not like that? And it's just an endless slippery slope, right? But if we are in a feeling well with who we are compassionate, we cut the criticism, and we understand, or even if we don't understand, but like we say, okay, that's how I think. Why do I think like this? And start becoming curious and playful with this. I think it will serve, and it does, at least for me, it works wonders. It serves you best. Also, I don't know about you, Yvonne, but I like, and I think you do it because you are so joyful anyway. You cannot not do that. But I like, it comes to the point where you are like thinking, let's not take myself so seriously. Let's see, is that a point where I can really allow a little bit of lightness in this thing that I cannot even name? And if you do that, then really you find light everywhere, even when you think that things are heavy and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely. And something else that came to me as you were speaking then was that if you find yourself kind of going down this route and always coming up with, or frequently coming up with, I should have known better. Oh gosh, I should have known better. A really good question to ask. What is this trying to teach me that I might have missed before? Because sometimes, you know what, we do go down the same road half a dozen times because there's a nugget down there that we still haven't quite picked up yet. So even that, but if we do it through compassion as opposed to criticism, the outcome not only feels better, but we probably see it with more clarity because we're looking for the nugget. We're not looking for what we've done wrong or why we're stupid or what, we're not doing that. It's what is that nugget? Because there have been, as I think, I'm just like, yeah, there have been times when I have, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how have you ended up here and there? How did that happen? And quite often, third time, maybe in the fourth time, ah, okay, because I wasn't seeing that. There was something that I needed to understand, I needed to experience, I needed to see that I just wasn't seeing. I've got it now. I'm good. I'm not coming down this road again, if I can help it. Right? So sometimes it is just that. It's like, what am I missing? What am I missing? But that's such a kinder question than I should have known better. Oh my God. Why am I so stupid? Why do I keep on doing this? Beating up, beating up, beating up. Curiosity. Curiosity wins every time.
Every time. And this takes us very, very well into the second question, which is, I think this is a little bit harsher in some ways, because we do like shed the light straight onto ourselves. I think the victim plays a lot of role in here. And the question is like, why am I like this? Why am I like this? And like that doesn't really resonate with me that much. I have certain ideas about it, but tell me, Yvonne, what does this bring for you?
Yeah, this one doesn't sit with me personally, but I have heard it. And what I see when I hear it is somebody who has internalized the messages that they've been giving themselves. They have taken on, I should have known better, and it has become embodied. So it is literally like the coat that they wear. And so, why am I like this? Why am I like this? Because they've taken it literally and have owned it as if. And yes, it's a judgment. Yes, the victim, as you said, if we start looking at it from the saboteur perspective of positive intelligence, the victim has a role to play in this. And it's really about pathologizing the patterns that you hold. And I think that again, it's being able to recognize that and then being able to see, what am I protecting? For me, there's a lot about protecting here. What is this? What is it protecting? Identity. What is the identity that I'm relating to, that I am holding, that I'm trying to protect, that I'm trying to keep here? And it may be something that doesn't serve you, but it's been with you for so long. It feels like a part of you. And so the very thought of releasing it, there is discomfort in that. And then for me, that just circles back to recognize and be curious. So don't actually feel like, if I recognize it, I now have to go and do something about it. Recognize it and be with it. Be with it. What is it that brings me to this? What is it that brings this phrase up for me? And once you have been with it for a little while, then you can start saying, okay, what do I want to do about it, with it? When I notice it, what's going to be that first step that I take that moves me away from coming back to it?
It is I think a very a, a very strange phrase, and I think it also creates that sense of, as you said, pathologizing it, but like making it as if there is no way out of this. And one thing we know for sure is that as humans, we are, like always in progress. We are always changing. We are always able to choose. And when I think this not only is like a limiting belief, like, why am I like this? It's almost the same as saying, I've always done it like this. How it limits you, and it really stops you from expanding, stops your growth. And I think that I really hear the victim in it, like so strong. You are embodying the fact that there is no other way for you.
Yeah.
And the number of women I have spoken to that they are actually embodying this, as you said, you're wearing it as a second skin. You don't believe that there is a possibility. And of course you don't, because this is a very strong statement. And it is something that it's almost like a curse, I don't know, like something that really you cannot shed for nothing, for the life you can't. But you can. And that's the whole point, is like, how do we shift this a little bit? And it is just by shifting it a little bit at a time, because this particular phrase is very hard to shed. I think that's my experience with the women that I work with.
Yeah. It ties
And
to so many other things, doesn't it?
yes,
So why am I
yes,
like this? It's just the way I am. I can't help it. All of those things tend to
yeah,
sit in the same bowl, if you like. I can't help it. It's just the way I am. It's how I react. It's how, so it's like you have no say in how you react. You have no say in being able to do something different or say something different. How far removed from yourself have you become for that to be your truth, for that to be your belief? And that's why, for me, the importance of coming, when I talk about coming home to ourselves, coming back to the real truth, because all of these layers have come through many different avenues, right from our childhoods, some of them, maybe some later on, from what we've heard, what we've been told, what we've been expected, all of these different things. And literally they are the layers that we need to now be like holding up and examining and just saying, what is it about this layer that I'm allowing it to stick to me? Why am I allowing this to be part of my form? And actually, I don't want it because it's not helping me. It's actually holding me back. So I need to be able to look at it and see it. So me, when I talk about pause, notice, return, notice it without blame, notice it, and then make a decision that allows you return to your greater self that knows that this is not who you are. This is not your truth. And actually, it's okay to release it now. It's okay to put it down.
but you see, this is the problem. Like when you have something like this embedded in you, and you are holding on to it like
Mm.
that your absolute reality. Letting go of it is almost like letting go of a part of you, and that is very hard to do, because it almost goes against being compassionate to yourself, because you feel like you are like like cutting yourself in half, rather than
Yeah.
allowing yourself to release and see what else is possible. And I find that the resistance here is mostly because of that, because you feel that this is who you are. It's like it is part of you. So it's like, okay, how am I going to cut my arm? Yeah, it's very easy for you to say, but like, so it is like that, or it feels like that. But
Yeah.
again, I think that it's the time to ask, okay, I cannot cut my arm. What can I do? That is like close to that. That is going to be helpful. That is going to be self-loving and understanding a little bit about the past, about the reasons why I feel like this. And it's like, is there anything I can do to to change it a little bit? Again, I think in this type of situation, especially when self-criticism is very high, um,
Mm.
that little bit, like the smallest of steps towards the right direction, might be like that one little thing that we need to
Yeah.
to start the process.
Yeah. I always like referring to nature. Nature is my thing, it's my home, it teaches me so much. And I always just think, does a tree stop being a tree because it sheds its leaves? No. It sheds its leaves because it's time for it to shed its leaves. And
Yeah.
guess what? That leaves space for new life to form. That's a lesson we can take, that it's okay for us to shed, to release, to prune for our growth. and that is a real lesson. You watch it, you see how, flowers look stunning and beautiful, then we don't see them anymore. They haven't gone forever. They are rebirthing themselves. And again, they lose their petals. We lose sight of them, and then they come back as beautiful, if not more so, vibrant, etc. Look at the cycles that nature has put in place literally for us to see and to say, okay, what does that mean for me in human terms? For me, it is always showing us it's okay. The whole point of when we put the compass together, the midlife compass, was to see what season we're in. And just because it's summer outside doesn't mean to say that it has to be summer here. Where am I? I might be in winter right now. And that's okay. I can be with that. So I feel that, there are visuals around us that are there to support us and encourage us, as well as the help that we can get through coaching and mentoring and things like that as well. They're there to support us and to let us know it's okay.
And that's so beautiful. I don't think that there is a better simile than or metaphor rather than what you just said, about letting go, about shedding, about releasing. Unfortunately, we are more, let's say, accustomed to holding on rather than releasing. And the thing is that if we realize that holding on is causing tension, and you can see it even, when you are in absolute relaxed state in your body, how your jaws are like really, clenched, and how your shoulders are, and all these things. And once you realize it, that how much you're holding on, and then you just let go and you release this tension, the only thing you can feel from that is goodness, is that sense of releasing that can give you an idea of how important it is for things to be released, even from our own thoughts, our own
Yes.
brains, and how this can really allow for new things to come through. There is also this idea of like nature does not like the void, and therefore when you have something, when you open something up, nature will come to fill it in with something. And if that's the case, and you need to allow for some space for something good to come through,
Yes.
they do it. It does make sense, and it might not make sense straight away, but eventually it does. And to me, and I always say that, it's like, gather the evidence, find out where this thing has happened before in your life, and really sit with that and see what your thoughts were before and after, and how that made you feel, and see if that helped, and if you can repeat the pattern. Maybe that's an answer.
Absolutely. You know what? A lot of this comes back to something that you mentioned earlier about, self-trust, trusting, because usually there's some agitation there. Like I keep on doing this, I don't want to do this, and I know that I don't have to, but I kind of keep on doing it. It's like, which of those voices is this voice, and which one is the one that's just playing out on repeat? And being able to distinguish between them, and then decide which one you want to trust. Because self-trust plays such a massive part in the choices that we end up making. And so many of these narratives, as I said, have been born from or been planted in from situations, from people that served their purpose at some point. But here we are, years later, still allowing them to play out and to take over and to take up space. When you talked about space, clutter, clutter, clutter. And when we clear the clutter, we have spaciousness. When we have spaciousness, we have clarity. When we have clarity, we have creativity. There's just a lot of good stuff that floats from there. And that goes for any of the narratives that we touch on. Yeah.
Definitely. I think that we can close with this.
Yes.
Overall, we are like always. I know we can speak for those things for like a long time, you and I, Yvonne. And they are important things that they are really like I know in our hearts that we really want to share, and that we want to see more and more people understanding these patterns and feeling them and seeing what is it, that they can do a little bit differently, and if they serve or not. And that's the reason why we created the compass. And it, like, I think when we reflect, we are more likely to come across patterns and be able to like understand a little bit more about ourselves and what works, what doesn't, and allow for something new to show up and see what happens.
And maybe that is the first step, is the reflecting. Because how many people really take time to reflect? How many people really take time to reflect? So maybe that is the first step, is you notice, and then it's like, I'm just going to reflect on this. I'm not doing anything about it. I'm not doing anything. I just want to reflect on it. I want to see, what triggers this, or, why this feels important, or why this is protecting me. And just reflect on it. Just like, okay. That is a step. That is a movement. That is something. And I think when you do that long enough, you do, as you said, you start to think, oh, okay, maybe it's because of this, or I don't really still know why, but I definitely want to do something different. And that's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes from that one little different thing, something like gold can come out or nothing. I mean, okay, that's the beauty of life. It's all an
Absolutely.
experiment.
Indeed. Indeed. Experiment, explore. We're all about that with curiosity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for one more wonderful Thursday. Thank you,
Evie.
everyone, for joining us live or at the playback, or how do you call it?
Recorded.
Recorded. Yeah. And see you all next Thursday.
We'll see you next week.
Thoughts. Yep.
Take care.